Dr. Price, why are you a Christian?
Now, what would I have thought?
Be in character. Don't say these things out like what would I've said. You got to stay in character. Why are you a Christian, Mr. Price?
I guess I'd say I was into apologetics. I guess I would say because the Gospels passed the test of historical accuracy, including what Jesus said, and like Warfield said that Jesus claimed to be God, and so whatever he said about the world, the Bible, etc., must be true. So I believe in the gospel.
Do you, Mr. Price, 1977? That's today. Do you really believe that there's a hell? That I'm an atheist. Are you saying I'm going to go to hell?
Yeah, I don't rejoice in the fact, but I'm afraid so. I mean, I'd rather believe no one dies of cancer, but some do. It's, might as well face reality.
And what about, like, what's your theory of atonement? You think God really came down as himself to sacrifice himself to himself with some type of blood sacrifice? Doesn't that sound crazy to you?
Well, it does, unless you believe in the Trinity, because Christians don't think that Jesus was all of God. And that it was a guy saying, well, gee, I guess I owe it to myself to die. In fact, that would be heresy. What you have is the second member of the Trinity assuming human flesh and human nature, and his sacrifice somehow counts as the punishment we deserve for sin.
But Mr. Price, why can't you just see that the Christians, the authors of the New Testament just used the Old Testament as a template to create a new narrative of maybe a guy named Jesus existed? Isn't that the more likely than a guy actually rising from the dead?
Well, it's more likely given the ordinary calculus, like when in Romans, I think, it says that Abraham was promised he would have a son when he and his wife are way too old. And he said, well, all things are possible for God. I'm going to believe it. I mean, it's God. If God enters the equation, all bets are off. It's not just optimism, it's faith. And yeah, there's a dare to it, but that's apparently what happened.
Mr. Price, it's 1977. Like, we live in a modern age. Don't tell me you believe in the flood story. Do you? Do you believe the God you worship and serve flooded women and children and babies?
I think, let's see. I'm trying to remember what I believed when. I'm not above thinking that some of these things, like it may not have been a world flood. There's not enough water in the world for that. But this civilization, at least, their world was destroyed.
But you believe by the God you worship and serve, right? You believe the God you worship and serve killed people, yes?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Does it bother you that the God you worship and serve killed babies?
Yes, it does, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen. And why would God do it? I guess in a finite world, even the infinite has a limited range of options. And he could have created a world in which nobody would sin and no judgment would ever have been wrought. But I guess the free will defense, the fact that he wanted witting devotees, he created a kind of humanity where things could get so bad he'd have to just start over again.
Is sin bad, Mr. Price? Is sin bad? Is sin a bad thing?
Yeah.
Would there be any sin if your God didn't create in the first place?
No, he could have created sinless beings like the angels. He could have made human beings.
No, that's not my question. I understand you're answering a question I did not ask. My question is, would there be any sin if the God you worship and serve did not create?
Well, there might be if you think of the fall of Lucifer as such.
No, there's no Lucifer. I mean, the God you worship and serve didn't create anything. There's no Lucifer, there's no demons, there's no angels, there's no universe. It's just God. Would there be sin, evil, pain, suffering if he didn't create anything?
I think not Gnostics would say yes, there could be, but
I'm not
I don't
asking Gnostics. I'm asking you, Mr. Price, in 1977.
if not created, there'd be no sin.
Okay. So would you say that your God is at least partially responsible for sin, evil, pain, and suffering?
Yeah.
Oh, very good. Okay. So Mr. Price, 1977, Mr. Price. Here's a thought experiment I want you to really consider. So you said you do believe there was a flood, maybe not a global one, but a local one where the God you worship and serve killed people, including babies, women, and children. So you're up in heaven with Yahweh, okay, just before the flood. And Yahweh says to you, things are really bad down there except for Noah's family. I'm going to kill everyone except for Noah's family. And I'm going to give you two options, Mr. Price. And these are the two options. I'm either going to execute my judgment on these people through drowning or through poofing them. They won't even see it coming. They're just poof, gone. And I'll either put them in heaven or hell where they deserve. I'm a just God. These options both are moral because me, Yahweh, is giving them. This is not a moral question. This is a preference question that I'm allowing you, Mr. Price, to make. Would you prefer that Yahweh poof these people out of existence or drown them?
The former.
Poof. So why would you go against what your God actually did?
Well, I guess I would say he must have had a reason, but from where I'm sitting, if it were up to me, I would say it's more merciful just to negate them.
But isn't the God you worship and serve 100% merciful? Isn't he the definition of mercy?
Well, yes, though I think that means he has allowed a means of escape from damnation. He's not going to force people to do it as if he were just a writer of a novel. So they bear some responsibility. He did give them a way out.
Okay. I appreciate your answer, Mr. Price, in 1977. What would it take for you? What would you have to see, learn, hear, read about to leave Christianity today in 1977?
Difficulties in the Bible where either it just stopped making sense to me, like questions like this: how could a merciful God do such a thing? Or undermining undermining our confidence in the historicity of especially the Jesus stories.
Well, we could do that right now if you want. However, I have a feeling, Mr. Price, that if I were to waste my time with you going through all the problems in the Bible, you would still end up being a Christian and maybe one of these, these flaky, hippy dippy type liberal granola crunching tree hugging Christians. and you'll just say, well, you just look at it in context. I know the Bible says that, but it doesn't really mean that. And you'll just end up being a progressive type liberal Christian, right? Am I right?
I don't believe I would. I'm not that kind of person, and my policy in apologetics, which I do use in witnessing, is to ask myself, now, if I were the recipient of this, if I were the audience, would I find this convincing? Because if I wouldn't, I'm not going to suggest it to somebody else. That'd be dishonest, disingenuous. So I am open and have had big bouts of doubt because of this stuff. So I try to keep my nose clean on this and be honest, and I couldn't see myself dropping it.